only know Wilson Harris through his work, while others are a bit more fortunate to know the man physically and have had interaction with the man. Some of us know him through his work and we think we know the man. But we'll talk about the man and about his work through two persons who are, and I say are, because I think Wilson is here, who are close to Wilson Harris. To my immediate right, Denise Harris, who is a novelist in her own right, and Professor Michael Mitchell, who is the authority or an authority on Wilson Harris. Welcome to the program. Fortunate to know the man. Fortunate to know the man. And I would like for you to share this fortune with us. Let's start with Michael.
Well, I certainly feel very grateful and very honored to have had the opportunity to have interacted with Wilson Harris for a number of years. I'm not his oldest friend, but I think that we were very close, especially towards the end of his life. I first met him in 1996. I'd just come back from Guyana, from the first visit to Guyana, where I was able to see not only the coastlands, but the Katia Falls, the great rivers seen from the air. So I had some idea of the landscape. Mm-hmm. And I'd only read one of his novels, Palace of the Peacock. But
Which is a good start.
Met him, sorry.
Which is a good start.
Not a bad start. But I met him at a book launch in London at the Guyana High Commission. And my good friend, Professor David Daberdeen, just said, by the way, meet Wilson Harris. And it was a bit like being told, meet the Queen, or something like that. It was, I was at first dumbstruck, of course, and I thought, this is impossible. I'm meeting this great figure, one of the chief figures of West Indian literature. Mm-hmm. And immediately we got into conversation, and he wanted to know everything about what I was doing, and he was fantastically interested in everything that I was finding out about. And I heard from him all about his latest novel, which was at the time Jonestown. It had just come out. And our conversation lasted all evening. It was absolutely fascinating. Somebody came up from the BBC and said, I want to arrange an interview with you, Wilson Harris. He said, don't talk to me, I'm talking to this man here.
Oh, wow.
So that was the beginning of a great friendship. And quite soon after, I was invited to his house and met him and his wife there, Margaret, who was a muse for him. Everything that he wrote, she read, and she inspired in him, and he was always fantastically interested in her opinion. Mm-hmm. I think you'll agree, Denise, that Margaret was really the central person in his life.
Well, let's go across to
that's
Denise.
quite true. No.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was.
Denise, have you seen him at work while he's working during his...
When he was writing Jonestown, which I mentioned to Michael today, when Margaret, we went into to the plaza to do something, and Margaret asked him to, like to wait for us at this special place, and of course, when we went, he wasn't there. Finally, we found him sitting somewhere else. He says, when I'm writing a novel, I'm so caught up with the novel, I don't think of anything else, and I'm thinking of Francisco Bone and Jonestown. He says, I'm talking with Francisco Bone. So, he sat somewhere else, and Margaret knew him because she said, we're not going to find him. Because, you see, he was in the middle of Jonestown. He says, the character with me. Mm-hmm. So... Mm-hmm. So you found him sitting, she said to him, Wilson, we'll meet you here. Yes, Margaret. We met him somewhere else, quite a distance away.
Yeah.
He said, because, you know, I'm thinking of Francisco Bone, who is, of course, a main character in Jonestown. But he was in the middle of that novel. He'd get up at 3 in the mornings, and he would write for about 3 hours.
He was a very disciplined writer. He had a
Yeah.
definite writing schedule.
To turn out that number of novels,
Yeah.
23, how many?
Well, not only that, but the extraordinary thing is, you know, he was published by one of the very best
But that's it.
publishers, Faber's, in London. And originally, the first novel, Palace of the Peacock, he offered the manuscript to Faber's. And the first person who read it at Faber's threw it on what was called the slush pile. Said, nobody's going to understand this. We won't publish this. And then there was a man called Charles Monteith. He was an editor at Faber's. And he used to look at the slush pile. In fact, a few years earlier, and very famously, he found there a novel called Lord of the Flies by William Golding. And he picked up Palace of the Peacock and said, no, we're going to publish this. And they got in contact with us and said, we really want to publish this. The head of Faber at the time was the great poet T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot, yeah.
And they said, would you like to come in and meet Mr. Eliot? He's, you know, and Wilson said, he told me later, was in such a hurry to get home and tell Margaret about this that I said, no, thank you, I just go.
He said he regretted that.
Later he regretted it because Eliot didn't live much longer and he
Right.
had no further opportunity to meet him. He never met him. Yeah, but the point was that all the novels from then on, he would give the manuscript to Faber and they would not change anything. Usually the publisher wants to edit and change, but no, every novel after that they published exactly as he gave it to them,
All right.
which was a great achievement. And they published all of his work.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
they
like that.
published all of his fictional work. He wrote essays as well, and other publishers took them on because he was able to talk about his work. The trouble was that a lot of people found it quite difficult to understand what he was saying about his work. That's one of the things, of course, that people say, Wilson Harris is very difficult to read.
Yeah.
He isn't. He's not difficult, but he needs careful reading and he needs poetry.
It needs time. You need to devote yourself to it.
It's like
Right.
poetry.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't get it all at one
But
go.
it's just as good that you have the criticism alongside the work, you know, to help
It
you
helps.
appreciate the
helps.
work.
Yeah,
It helps
I think
help
it
you
helps,
appreciate
yeah.
the work.
My experience
also-
my experience of reading Harris for the first time was like going through the rainforest. Like the first time I went into the rainforest. You're in the rainforest and you have no idea what's around you. You can see all these leaves. You have no perspective. And then you come out for a moment into a clearing, particularly slightly higher, and you see the landscape around and you think how magnificent this is. And if everything is as good as what I have now just seen, albeit briefly, in that brief glimpse, then this is magnificent. So I'll have to come back and read it again to check. And that is what happens. And gradually the whole work opens out
And unfolds.
and unfolds, and
Right.
you
The
discover
critic has
how good it
spoken.
is.
The critic has spoken, and now you know.
That's okay.
Yeah, and then Denise also has moved closer to the work, or closer to the man through his work.
Yes.
Right. You value his work more. It has given you hope.
More
Right.
than hope, but I really do value his work. I think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
I think his work matters. You know, I really do think so, especially in these times. I think what he has to say, we need to listen to what he has. And he always said it, though, which you'd know, I only have partial answers. You know, everything is, there are no absolutes with Wilson.
Yeah.
You know, there were just partial answers. And that is very crucial, too, you know, because to him, it's, you know, it's not as if you can grasp the truth, even though to him it's there. But we can only capture glimpses of, you know, it's like in Palace, when the narrator catches a glimpse of this perfect design. But that is when he senses his frailty, how frail he is, when he captures a glimpse of that perfect design. So you know it's there, that presence, but he never, but you can't really, you can't see it, you'll never see it, but it's there.
And this is just another glimpse of Wilson, the critic and a personal view of Wilson. This isn't just another glimpse. And we can go on talking, and we can go on writing, and we can go on exploring Wilson without end, because that is the work of the man. That's the work of the imagination of the
But to
man.
him it wasn't his work. You know, I don't know how you know. As to him, he was written. It's as if this
Yeah.
hand came in. This is why his novels later, he's given the manuscript, W.H. He's no longer the author.
That's right.
That's
Or you know, the idea of a sculpture which has been made, which is able to speak, and so on. There are a whole lot of, and we've just talked about Palace of the Peacock. We shouldn't forget that he went on writing novels till nearly the end of his life, and the later novels are also magnificent, right up to the great Ghost of Memory,
Ghost of Memory,
which is
yeah,
one of the greatest of them. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
But knowing him, of course, so personally, we also talked about things like his dreams. And one of the most poignant things about the end of his life, in a way, we were speaking one day on the telephone, and he said, "You know, Michael, I've had this dream." I said, "Oh yeah, Wilson, what was that?" So I was sent up again by the government as a surveyor, like in the old days. I was sent up into the interior. Do you know what that dream means? And I knew it was a bit of a test, because he wanted to know, was I going to be honest? And I said, yes, Wilson, it means you're foreseeing your own death. And he said, right, you've understood it.
His vision, his dreams. Denise.
What's that?
Wilson's vision, his writing, his dreams. Talk to you about his vision for writing.
No, not no about his writing, but not like that. No, with that dream, you know. No, I
Not like that.
No.
Perhaps in other ways. No.
But his books are like, you can call them, the characters, their dreams, you know, Palace, whatever. It's as if it's part of a, you know, it's a dream.
Right.
It's real, but it's still a dream.
Right.
But I found that so interesting, the thing that, you know, about going back into the interior.
Yeah, full circle. All right, I think we've gone full circle. Although this is just a glimpse, another glimpse at Wilson, and we're thankful. We're thankful that we have two persons here, Denise Harris and Professor Michael Mitchell, who can show a bit more appreciation for the work of Wilson Harris, the work of the man and his work. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm so happy that you were able to have this personal touch. Michael, I'm happy that you were here.
Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. Yes.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Okay, yes.